Welcome back, everyone. We are,
Hello.
yeah, we should
Yeah.
say hi. I,
Hi.
um, Today we're focusing on the topic of economic experiences, specifically our economic experiences while we're in our 20s. Because I feel like our 20s, there's this whole like fantasy life of being in your 20s, like they're the best years of your life, all that you're supposed to do. But that takes money. And plus with the economy we're in now, and I'm like 90% sure we're in a recession, I just feel like it'd be a great time for us to talk about money and how that influences our lives as 20-year-olds. Oh, wait, 20-year-olds. I feel like I
Mm-hmm.
didn't finish that sentence.
You
Okay,
didn't.
thank you. I completed it now. To start, let's just start with the basics. What are some financial myths that you wish you could unlearn? And where did those come from? Because I feel like we're at the age where we're starting to understand finances a few years prior, we started to understand finances a little bit more. Maybe a few, okay, for some of us, maybe a few years later. But what are some myths that you want to unlearn? And where do you feel like you learned them? Not all at once.
I thought she was
Okay.
supposed to go.
Okay, I'll go first. There are a couple of things that I thought that I started to unlearn when I went to college and when I started working. One is that investing requires a lot of effort. You need an expert to do it. So I was a lot, I didn't understand how a person with like a regular income who's not into finance or understands finance would be able to develop passive income
Hmm.
or invest, which I think everybody should do carefully. It's scary, so you just have to ease yourself into it. But passive income is important. That was one of the myths that I had to s- slowly overcome. The other one is all debt is bad. Debt was something that I thought
That's
was
a good one.
absolutely bad. Like,
Hmm.
I don't know why I thought I hated credit cards. In fact, I don't own a credit card till date, but that was just a coincidence. But I thought all credit cards are bad. Like credit cards is like a big no-no. It's like a one ticket way to debt what's it called? Debt cycles. Yeah. So I thought you should never get a credit card. Only buy what is within your means. Like, if you can afford it, buy it. If you have savings, buy it. And then you take out a loan for the rest of it. Like if I want to buy a house, I put down a down payment if I have enough money, and then I take a loan out for the rest of it. Credit cards are, I mean, you never buy a house on a credit card. Bad idea. But generally, uh,
That'd be
credit
crazy.
cards are bad. Yeah. So these were the two. Again, when we were discussing this, I think these are the two things that came to my mind. I had to. I'm still really hesitant to get a credit card. I know that what's that called? Credit scores are everything here, or almost everything here. I
Yeah,
think that's another myth. But
that's not a myth.
not everything. But yes, credit scores, ugh, credit credit
Credit
scores,
score.
credit scores are really important, and I understand that, but it just scares me to get a credit card because I don't know. It's just I have a mental block. I don't want to get a credit card right now because it makes no sense because I might leave. But yeah, I will get a credit card when I'm in a point when I know I'll be staying in that particular place for a while. Anyway, anyone else? Anything else to add?
Yes. First off, investing is something that I still don't think about because it does just seem like a whole world I know nothing about. And I think you're right. It doesn't feel like something that's obtainable to me. It feels like something that rich people do. But you're right. That's not true. Anyone can do it and they can educate themselves. So maybe I'll start looking into that. But maybe I should get money first, so then I can
Hmm.
invest. That's probably important. But
I mean, there's a lot out there now. There's this thing called crypto that they're doing. I do not understand crypto. I keep questioning people. What is the underlying asset? What are you trading? You're trading the cash itself. I don't understand what exactly is giving that particular cryptocurrency value. My sorry.
me
Anyway,
neither,
I
bro. I have
interrupted
no
you.
idea. I have no idea how any of that stuff works. But mine, when I was thinking about this question, it's not exactly like a financial myth, but it's just something that like me and my brothers were kind of told growing up, like when we were like school age. And I'm really grateful for this. My parents always said when you're in school, your job is to be a student. Like they didn't want us working like jobs outside of like our like just the things we had going on academically. And so I really like appreciated that because like we were able to not only focus on our academics but also be really engaged with like extracurriculars in school and also outside of school. So we were busy in general even though we weren't like working a job and making money and everything. Um but one thing that I always like noticed in my peers, it was a mix of kids who worked, had jobs after school and who didn't. But they just seemed to have like a one up on like managing money and
Hmm.
building their credit at a younger age and having a debit card. I didn't get one until I don't think I had a bank account until right before my freshman year of college. We set it up for me because I was going to
Oh
be
my
away.
God.
Yeah, I was really late in that regard. So I really feel like that's just something that even though I'm grateful for it because I think I was able to do a lot of things, I just think I'm a bit of a late bloomer and it took me longer because in like all the activities I did, I always learned about financial literacy. So I knew like the frameworks, but the actual application didn't come until much later for me because I wasn't actually managing money until I was like 18, 19. And I think I fell into a lot of pitfalls with like people who like get money on their hands for the first time. I think I just freshman year, I was like, and I think it was just normal because I didn't really have that value of actually earning money myself that wasn't like scholarship money that I earned academically. You know what I mean? My first
Hmm.
internship wasn't until summer after my freshman year. So I didn't really have that, experience. Which yeah, I think it would have been beneficial. But I think there's no one way to do it. And then I think the last thing I'll say now as like a 24-year-old who is like in between like her first real job and like her academic career, I don't want to work a like retail or food industry service job, if that
Mm.
makes sense.
Customer service. Oh my
Yeah.
God, my throat. Customer service.
Yes.
Mm.
I don't want to work one of those jobs because I just feel like it could be detrimental because I should be starting in my industry. You know what I mean? Everything that I
Hmm.
spent money on academically and work towards. Um, so I feel like I'm at a bit of a in between where I'm just kind of waiting for the ideal job now and not wanting to pick up something that I could just do in the meantime. And I feel like it would have been different if throughout high school or college when I came home, oh, I worked at Rita's during the summer, so I would have that rapport and I could just maybe
Hmm.
pick up some shifts. But I don't want to start brand new, having never worked there before now. You know what I mean? So it's interesting, but yeah, pros and cons to it. But I genuinely am very grateful for that because I think it took off some stress. Because I did have some friends where it's like, I have my car, I'm responsible for gassing it up, I'm responsible for paying for maintenance. So it's very necessary for me to work a job. And other friends where it's just like, I want the experience and I want pocket money. Fair. Both are like very valid. But yeah, that's very interesting.
Honestly, T, I didn't know that about you, but it's not like the most surprising thing either. I'm not gonna lie. I think it fits your personality really well. It's like when we had talked about like I don't know when we talked about this, but like you being the youngest, like you really
Mm.
embody that. Being the youngest, being the only girl. And so like when you're explaining this, it like it clicks. I'm like that tracks as her experience. Like it really does. And it's also a great segue because what I wanted to unlearn, or I wish I learned sooner, was that getting your bachelor's degree does not automatically mean straight out of college. You're getting a salaried job that has great benefits. Like, I wish,
Wish.
I wish I really understood that when I started college. Like, I knew, like, if you were going to be a doctor, or a lawyer, or veterinarian, all these different like high paying jobs, you get a high salary, great benefits. Like I knew that. But I don't know, I guess I had this perception because everyone's like, get a degree, you'll get a good job. I just kind of assumed then that would equate you'd have really good pay. And I think it took me forever to understand that. I mean, it kind of took me until I got my first job. Like I followed the traditional track of I got an internship my senior year of undergrad, and then from that internship it turned into a full-time job. And so I remember when I got my first like or when I got the offer letter and it told me how much I'd be making, it was like a little over 55,000, somewhere between 55 and 60, and then it would go up a little bit every year based off the cost of living. And I was working in a nonprofit. I do have to put that out there because being in a nonprofit is just automatically lower pay. But I was just like, I just slaved away for 4 years, got myself in a little bit of debt for $55,000 a year. And you want me to pay off this debt, you want me to pay rent, you want me to get groceries, and then everyone's saying that you should have kids when you're younger. Like, I wish I could understand that college doesn't equate a good salary, and I wish I could have better prepared myself for that. Because either way, I was going to end up in the nonprofit industry or for some type of like service work or government work when it comes to that. And I knew it wasn't going to be high paying for a few years. So I wish I just prepared myself better for that. Because yeah, unless you're trying to be like a lawyer or a doctor, I'm trying to think of anything in finance or like business, accounting, stuff like that, you're not really gonna get out of college making like more than 80,000, I don't think. Um, and then the second thing I want to unlearn, which kind of correlates, is I wish I learned more about the economy and the way the
Mm.
Mm,
economy works. Because I think I had explained this in a podcast episode, I don't remember. But basically for us, in our school system, your junior year, you could either take, there's two tracks. You could either do American History 1, American History 2, and then take civics and economics your senior year. Or you can do what I did and you can take AP US History, which is a year-long course, and then within AP US History, there's civics and economics, which is a second course, but it's in the same class. So I probably learned civics and economics for like 2 months out of the 9 months I was in school. And I loved my A push teacher. Mr. Edwards, my dude. We locked in. Loved him. Taught me so much. But I know nothing about the economy. Anything he taught us about the economy over my head. I don't even know if we did any assignments on it. I don't know what we read about it. But I just remember graduating and then like I was working in high school. Like I started working, I think I was 15. My first job was Chick-fil-A. But I think I knew how to make an income. I knew how to save money, spending money like that. The basics was fine. But it was a matter of like when I started making more money with like work study and babysitting and like other jobs in college where I was like, I can save all this money, but I also need to spend this money and I need to make sure this money continues to grow. And I didn't know how to do that. And then I didn't understand like the whole aspect of like, okay, taxes. Like, why
yeah.
are you taking so much money out of my paycheck? I don't get it. Like I understand Social Security like at its core, but everything else I'm so confused. So I wish I learned that
Yeah.
earlier on.
I think we had said in like one of our very early podcasts, like the education one, where we said that's what we wish,
Really,
like, or
yeah.
what needs to be regulated in like high schools. Because I
Mm,
remember in high school, like the last 2 weeks of our math class, our statistics class, we talked about personal finance. That's not enough. You know,
mm-mm,
you mean I'm about to enter the world and I don't really know what credit is? I don't know what taxes are. I don't know how to do X, Y, and Z. Like, it's not enough. So it needs to be mandated more. Because it's like,
agreed.
what are we supposed to do?
No, at least you guys had something along those lines. In India, it's very different because up until the curriculum, everybody has the same curriculum. That is a standard Indian syllabus. There are different boards that have different subjects that are taught to students. But generally, in CBSE, that's the central board, you have the same subjects until the 10th grade. And when it comes to civics, you're taught things like politics and about the government structure and about things like that. Very little about the economy, but not much. It's like literally saying, oh, okay, we have this. How exactly does the RBI work? I think that's the limit to it. And then in the 11th and 12th grade, you take up science or you take up arts or social sciences, and you don't learn anything about any of this. Personal finances did not appear in my curriculum for the 12 years that I was in school education. Not once. And it was not emphasized as important. That's the problem. Because it was always something that you did as adults. As a child, your job is to study well, get into college. The rest of it is not your business. You're concerning yourself with things that are not relevant. it was a very weird setup. Now that I think back, I also got my first debit card at 18. That too because my college made it mandatory that we should get debit cards, and they made it easier for students without an income to get a debit card. Otherwise, it wouldn't have happened. So I did have a joint bank account with my mother when I was 15, 16, but I never really used it. But
I
yeah,
mean, I had a joint, like my bank account, it was a joint bank account with like my entire family. Like we all have the same branch. We're in the same branch or business, whatever.
Hmm.
Like the
yeah,
bank we use is the same. But my parents are like the head of the bank accounts, so we can like transfer money within each other within the bank, but it's still my bank account. Like my parents never like went in there and looked or touched it or anything. It was just there. And then I think like to before I went to New York, so when I was like 21, 22, when I was like 22 is when I opened another bank account with another bank separate. Still a bank my family goes to, but it's just mine. No one has access to it.
okay.
So I think
Yeah,
it's
I
like,
didn't.
go ahead.
No, no, go ahead. I'm sorry. I thought you were done. Go ahead.
No, it's okay. What was the last thing I said? I didn't,
I think
what? I think that's so generic.
you said that. You took a pause and then you
I
said, I
know.
think. So
I
I was
thought
like,
it was
okay, you're
gonna
done.
remind me. Dang. I thought, well, anyway, I think who,
I'm sorry. I didn't mean
no,
to
it's
interrupt.
okay.
Right.
Yeah, I don't know.
Moving on, moving on.
Yeah,
Okay.
okay. I
No,
do have, oh,
right.
continue.
No, so just to add to it, I was 17 when I got my first bank account, and I was only able to get that single bank account, which was just mine, that nobody else could look into it, because my university made it mandatory. Otherwise, I probably wouldn't have gotten a bank account. I would have still been using the joint bank account that I had with my mother until I got a job, which is ridiculous, but what I would have done.
Yeah. I mean, I can't speak to it, but I feel like depending on the culture or the country you're in,
I
um,
don't. Hmm.
specifically with like American culture is such a like hustle culture, like be successful on your own, make a lot of money. And so to me, it's like all my friends, we all had jobs. Like everyone worked. I don't know a single person who didn't work. But again, I think that speaks a lot to the culture, like American culture as a whole. Very very focused on trying to succeed, and a lot of times success is defined by your financial status as well. So I think that also pushes a lot of people from a young age. And you're pushing us to do this, like to be successful financially, but you're not explaining finances to us. So like we're just like, oh, I have a lot of money, but you don't know how to manage that money. So are you really financially successful?
Hmm.
Which we'll
No, I
talk
think
about later. But
no, financial success is important even in India, but I think that financial success comes from having a job after you complete your education, or managing to have a side hustle while acing your education. So I think at least in my circle, that was the idea. Financial success and your financial status is a mark of success, but not while you're a teenager or while still studying. Yeah. It's like it goes from getting grades to how much money do you make? It's like you graduate and like, so how much money are you making? So immediately the what do you call it? The parameters of success change.
yeah. All right. So moving forward, do you guys feel pressure to follow a certain life timeline, like graduating, getting a job, buying a house by a certain age? And where do you think that pressure comes from? And then based off of that answer, have you ever made a choice that went against that went against the expected path or timeline? And then what impact did that have on your finances or identity? So loaded question, but answer how you will.
Yes, I feel like I do have pressure to follow a certain timeline, but I feel like it's the timeline I've set for myself. And I would say that I've followed like the traditional path, like high school, college, internships, grad school. And so I feel like the next natural progression is get a job. Um so I do feel pressure because obviously we're still kind of stuck in like a little bit of a transition right now. But yeah, I feel like most of it, of course, you're gonna have like your family like, so how's this going? Like, do you have something lined up yet? But I feel like I put most of the pressure on myself because I want things to go the way I envisioned it in my head. Um, and so I had like an analogy for kind of like how I feel right now. I feel like I'm in like a hallway and I've like firmly closed the door behind me. Like grad school, I mastered it, got that done. I closed the door, it's locked, and now it's like I'm jiggling the doorknob of the next door, but it's still locked. And so I'm like, uh-oh, like who has the key, you know? And so it's like I'm just in the hallway waiting. But it's like it's cool. We're gonna get there eventually. But yeah, so I think that like a lot of those expectations I just place on myself, and I think when I think about like my identity and like who I've always considered myself to be because of the path that I've um taken for myself and the intentional steps I've taken like academically and just like how I've always um wanted to prepare myself for the future. Sometimes I do have moments where it's like I reflect on myself and I'm just kind of like I did everything quote unquote right. So like
Hmm.
why are these my results? And of course like the job market is terrible right now. I understand that. There's a lot
Trash.
of stuff going on right now. But I think sometimes it's hard to not think about it that way and be like a little nervous at times, but also it's like majority of the time I just try to stay positive about it because like what's meant for me won't pass me by. um but yeah, it's just a journey because it's like you have to reckon with how you wanted life to go versus how life actually goes. And I think when I was a kid, I was like, oh, I'm gonna, it wasn't very career focused as a kid, admittedly. I was like, oh, I'm gonna meet the love of my life by 20, and I'm gonna get married by 24, and I'll have kids by 26 or 27.
Ugh.
Now at 24, I'm like, ugh, I hope I
Ew.
didn't meet the love of my life. You know what I mean? Like, I hope I just haven't met him yet. You know what I mean? But it's like, I was a kid when I thought those things. But yeah, I think you're just gonna go on this journey called life, and you know what's gonna happen is gonna happen, but it'll be okay. We're just
Mm,
in a little bit of a dip right now. I'll go back
mm.
up.
Well, that's a good approach. That's a really good, that's a very productive approach. Mentally productive. Yeah.
Thank you.
I
She said,
think
mm.
no, it is.
Mm,
It really is. I'm saying because I feel like everyone is like I think most people feel that, but we just don't talk about it enough, maybe. Because this whole like timeline that we created, it's it's not realistic. It's like it was a timeline that worked for like maybe the 1950s.
A different generation.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was a whole different generation, and we have so many different things going on now. Like just talking about inflation, talk about international relations, things going on globally, political climate, our economic climate, even socially, like with social media and like technology being introduced. Like there's so much that has changed since then, and we have yet to change the standard. I think we're in the process of it because you see a lot more content creators or influencers who are
Mm.
like, "Oh, I quit my 9 to 5," or I got laid off, so I started my dream career," or like people who just drop everything and start traveling, like all these different stuff. So you're seeing more you're seeing a lot more different paths that you can take, but it's still not like the norm yet, I don't think. Um,
Yeah.
for me, I feel like I feel pressure, but I don't feel pressure. Because on one hand, like my parents always said, they always said, just do what's best for you. The only thing I knew for a fact with my parents is I was going to college. There was no world where I was not going to college to get my bachelor's. So that was like a fact. But other than that, what I studied in college, they didn't care. What I did in college, they didn't care. Like all that. It was always just do what's best for you. And I think I've done that up until now. I feel like every step I've taken has been right for me in that moment. But I also think it would be it would be false to say that it's easy to see other people who fit the timeline. Because when I see other people who
Mm.
fit the timeline of like going to college, getting a job, getting married, having kids, life isn't easy for them. Like I know everyone's life is difficult in their own way, but at the same time, societally speaking, like the path is there for you. Like
Yeah.
you literally know what to do next and you can go and follow those steps and you're happy doing it from what I know. And so sometimes when I see people like that, I'm like, dang, if only I wanted to conform to society. Life would be so simple. Um, but yeah, and then I think I'm trying to come to terms with the fact right now that I'm not financially stable because I have been working so consistently. I think since I was 18, I was consistently working. Like I always had a job. In high school, here, there, didn't work, kind of, in between jobs. But like this is the first time I'm not working. gaining a consistent fixed income. And it's the first time that I'm not financially stable because I've always had a savings. And then I moved to New York, and if you ever lived in New York, that place is expensive. So I'm trying to come to terms with that. I'm not financially stable, but my life is still pretty good. So it's like, accept what you can, reflect on what you need to do better, and then go from there. That's all I can do, honestly. Ugh.
Okay. Right. Do I feel pressure to follow? Yes, there is pressure to follow a certain timeline. In my head, when I was younger, the idea was to study hard. Didn't study hard because I was a dreamer, but study hard, get into a good college, get good university, get a degree. There was an emphasis on a professional degree, so get that professional degree there. Start working, save money, and then get married, have kids, and then study more if you feel like it. Of course, that comes before the marriage and kids bit. So that was the path, and the idea was by 22, 23 you graduate from college, and then you get a job, and then you buy. I don't know about buying a house. I don't know. I don't think that ever figured in my plan.
Yeah, same.
But I thought that was something I would do later on. It wasn't something I want to do immediately because I've never felt at ease when being tied to a particular location. So I'm like, if I'm spending all that money buying a house, because buying a house is expensive, it's a
Yeah.
huge investment. If I'm buying a house, I want to live in that house, or I want to put it to good use, like get like a lot of money out of it, or get some use out of it. And I never thought that I'd be staying in one particular place. I never really felt like that was a part of my plan. And where does the pressure come from? I think you're socialized into it in some way, if you think about it, because
Hmm.
um, maybe the timeline is not specific, but I guess in my head, I always thought by 26, I'd have a stable job. I'd still be like working my way up, but I'd have a stable job, a stable career, have money saved up, have my own money, be independent financially, get married at around the same point. I wanted to be married by 26, 27. I didn't want to wait longer than that because I felt that you become too rigid as a person. You get too set in your habits, and it becomes harder to adjust with another person and their habits at that point. After that point, I can say that now because I feel that way. If I have to live with someone else, I don't think I'd be able to manage because they just annoy me with the their lifestyle and the way they go about things. I'm just like, no, let me be my way. I feel I'd be more um open to adjusting and compromise if I were younger. But that's where I think that's one of the reasons. I think it's also that in my society, I think the idea is my parents won't feel like I'm settled until I have all of that,
Mm.
until I have a
That's a
stable
good
job.
point.
Yeah,
Yeah.
my parents won't feel I'm stable settled until I have a stable job, I have a stable income, I'm married, and then they'll be like, okay, we're done. Now this is her
Yeah.
life now. We're there to support. They're still there to support. They still give me, I mean, they're still always 100% behind me whenever I make decide to do anything. But I feel that they have a lot of anxiety that they don't show me. But I know that they're going through that anxiety, and that's pressure. That they're not putting on me, I'm putting on myself because I can see the kind of pressure that they're facing. So it's like filtered down. I think that's where it comes from. And have I ever? Yes, I thought most people end up doing their masters immediately after a year or two, immediately after they finish undergrad. I decided to do it 2.5 years, 3 years after I finished my undergrad. I worked for 3 years, which is unusual for a lot of people. At least the previous generation wasn't something that was usually done. So that was something that went against the expected path. I got a lot of shit from a lot of people for not applying for masters immediately after I graduated. Um, I got a lot of shit when I quit my job because it was a toxic place. So I got a lot of shit when I quit my job, and I think I am also going against the expected path by doing a master's that's not an LLM, that's not a master's of law. So I think everything that I've done after I've turned 25 has been something that's gone against the expected path. So how did that impact my finances? I went from being financially independent to being someone who is not so financially independent anymore, which is not fun. It's not great for my self-esteem. It um it makes the process of finding a job and getting a career a lot more anxiety driven, especially because I'm older as well.
Mm.
So yeah, it's not a great place to be because it shakes your self-worth or how you view yourself when you don't have that stable income or when you don't have that confidence that immediately now I'm going to get that job and I'm going to start earning money and I'm going to be fine. When you don't have that reassurance, either externally or internally, it impacts the way you view yourself. It makes you feel like, am I in my head the only word that comes failure to thrive? That's the phrase that comes to my mind. So yeah. Have I
Gotcha.
missed out anything? I think that's about
Mhm.
yeah. Not a
I
very
think,
pleasant notion, but it's a phase. You everybody moves past it.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And it's real too. But yeah.
Yeah.
the whole transitional stages of life, like we have multiple, like, but up until now, we've had something to kind of guide us through it. Like,
Yeah.
think about going from elementary to middle, middle to high, high to college. Like, there's always something that guides you. There's so many resources at your disposal. And then I feel like when you're done with like undergrad or like you're done with getting your master's post grad, it's like there's no transition. It's just like, here, go, figure it out. And then while you're figuring it out, it kind of costs money to figure it out. Like
Mm.
when I took a gap year from my undergrad to getting master's. I was gonna go straight into master's and I was like, no, I'm gonna take a gap year, which surprised some people. I explained myself, it's fine. But I basically went into college like, okay, I'm gonna figure out who Rose is. Like, what is Rose like? And then I figured it out, and I was very grateful because I figured out my passion really early on. Like, I love interfaith work. And then when I graduated college, I was like, okay, well, now that you know who you are and what you like, how does that translate into the real world? And so I took my entire gap year trying to translate it. And then you're like, I'm trying to figure out different hobbies and I'm trying to do different clubs and I'm trying to start my own organization. It's like all these little things cost money. It might be like $5, $10 here, it might be like 100, 200 here, but like it costs money to do. And I'm just like, that was so weird in my gap year because I just felt like my identity was contingent upon the fact of me exploring my different hobbies and interests and potential career paths. But then like I didn't want to be so wasteful with money as well. Like I was at home, I wasn't like paying rent, so like I had more money that I could save, but I was about to do a big move to New York. And for those who don't know, moving to New York, it's a lot. Security deposit, first month's rent, sometimes we have to pay a broker fee. Like me and my roommate together, we had to pay $10,000 just to move in, right? So like I want to explore and understand like who I am and my identities and like being young in your 20s. At that point, I was like 21, 22. Like I want to explore that and understand that. But then on the other hand, it's like I have to be very conscious about the money that I'm spending and where it's going. I can't just, oh, I want to go take jujitsu classes. It's 200 a week. It was for the unlimited pass for my jujitsu place. It was 200 a week. So I just did the lowest you could. Yeah. But you
Wow.
honestly, you can go to every single class and not pay nothing because you have, well, not pay nothing is crazy. Go to every single class and like not have to worry about it because you have the unlimited pass. Or you could do like 50 passes, 10 passes, whatever. But it like really limited me in what I could do. And then I was already like kind of freaking out because I was taking a gap year and I was supposed to be in Egypt with a part-time job, but my job was like no. So then I ended up staying home doing a full-time job. Like it was like everything was crazy and weird. And all I wanted to know is how to translate who I am into the adulthood. Like that's all I wanted to figure out, and I had no idea. You're just stuck in that transitional phase, and it kind of feels like that now after graduating. Like you have so much you want to do, but where's the money? How are you going to spend the money? You got to be very stingy, I guess, in some ways.
Yeah.
With that said, do you guys feel like money has changed the way you approach life? Because if we're talking about how money affects your ability to kind of like explore, you can explore without money too, but it's just a lot more difficult and it's a lot more, what is the word? I think it starts with a C. I'm thinking like tight. It's a lot more condensed. What you can do is a lot more condensed. But do you feel like it's approached or it's affected your approach to life or making major life decisions like dating, traveling, moving out? stuff like that.
Yeah. I definitely I've always like considered money like just in life and like the impact of it even when I wasn't in charge of it, but now especially since I am in charge of like my financial responsibility, when I think about moving out and just like kind of being independent, I am like confronted with like the idea that probably if I had gotten a job right after I finished grad school in New York, I probably would have stayed in New York and I could have figured it out. But now since I've been in my home state for the past couple of months, once I get a job, I probably am going to stay home so that I can stack money without having to worry about relocation fees and rent and all that extra stuff. So that's just something to consider. I didn't think I was gonna come back to my home state after college, pretty much. Yeah. Once I left for like undergrad, I was like, oh yeah, I won't be living full time in my home state again. Here I am. I've been here for a minute. So it's like that was something. Also with traveling, still travel. Like I feel like it's something I consider, but it has to be something where I can drive myself and I
Mm.
can still have a fun time, but everything's like within moderation. And I'm cool with that because I've never been one that like goes here, goes there. I'm not a super travel person. I would like to do it, but it's just never been like an opportunity for me to do. So like I don't even have a passport. Oh, I should in this administration, but anyway, it's just not something that I've really like considered that much. I feel like I still travel in my own way within moderation, bearing in mind that financially I can do what I can. I can only do what I can. And then the last part that I was thinking about was like excursions.
Mm.
Summer is concert season. And let me just say, the only tickets I have set for this summer, going with my girls to ATs. That's it.
Yay!
I have so many other that's on my list. I'm trying to see Beyonce. I'm trying to see Stray Kids. I'm trying to see Jin. I'm trying to see Blackpink. But I realize financially, where is this coming from? If it's
Hmm.
not coming from the sky, it's not coming from anywhere. You know what I mean? So I think I've officially said respectful no to Stray Kids. I just don't think I'm going to be able to financially afford that. But sometimes you have to say no. And that's the hardest thing. We had to say no to J-Hope. You know, financially, it wasn't working out. And there's going to be more no's in the future, and just being okay with that. This is a chapter. This isn't our whole lives. It won't be a no forever, but for right now, it's a no. So yeah, that's just something. It's sometimes a tough pill to swallow, but it's just reality. Like it'll be okay. I just don't got it right now. You know,
All those concerts are in July. Like
all of
literally
them.
every single one is in July. Not even spaced out enough.
I don't know. Did they not plan it out?
I mean, they don't have to like plan within each other. Like
Yeah,
so, and it's also summer. Like
yeah. Concerts always
there's
happen in the
so much
summer.
that happens in the summer. I
Yeah,
like being broke in the winter. No one wants to go out in the winter. You just want to stay in, watch a movie, eat some food, that's it. But in the summer, there's so many different things you can do. Like there's so many
yeah.
different trips you can take and all that. So that makes me frustrated right now. For me, honestly, real quick, money never really affected the way I approached life until recently. And I mean like until the last few months, because I always had the mindset of if I want something, I'll do it. Money's not an option. Like money's not an issue. If I want to go buy like $1,000 pair of shoes, I'm gonna save the money to do it. I don't. Thankfully, it's the one thing I don't spend a lot of money on, which is like clothes. But like,
Same.
I love traveling. I love it. When I graduated for a month and a half, 2 months, I was traveling. I went to Italy. I went to France. I went to Singapore. Like, I went all these different places, and money was not an issue. I said I was going to do it, so I did it. I just saved up enough money for it. But I think when I quit my job last year, I think that was what, like second semester of our program. I quit my job and I had enough money to like be fine. Like I made sure I had enough money for rent, take care of it, all that. But then I realized like, oh, with the money I have left over, I have to figure out a way to divide it for like 5 to 6 months while I'm living in New York. And it's spring and summertime. Like there's so much you want to do. And so I kind of just had the whole, how do I say this PG version? This whole whatever. I'm trying to say it honestly, like the fuck it mindset, but I don't know how to because I don't want to cuss.
I'm gonna
I
Just
Google
have
do
it.
it attitude.
the just
Just
do it
do it.
attitude. I
Nike.
Nike. I had that attitude the last like I want to say 4 months I was in New York. I was just like, whatever, I don't care anymore. I'm tired. I was so over it. Like my mind was always so consumed with like, okay, what do I do? What do I do? What do I do? When I was in New York, like it's like you can't turn your brain off. And so the last few months I was there, like the summer, mainly when I was staying with T, I was just like, I don't care. I'm gonna do it. Here's money, here's money, here's money. So then when I came home, again, I didn't have to pay rent or anything. I just have to show up and sleep in my bed and like rest and take care of myself and then find a job. But anyway, now I'm home and I don't really have money the way I normally do because I've always been really good at savings, and this is the first time I don't really have a savings. And so it's it's the first time I've actually had to think about money when approaching life, which is weird. Okay? I don't like it. This is not cute. It's not for the weak. But once I get a job, I'm sure I'll go back to the mindset I had before of just save and then do what you want. But yeah, it sucks because I think I've traveled every year except for the last year. Last summer and I guess this summer I haven't traveled anywhere. And that's just not acceptable. But I have to accept it some way, somehow.
Interesting.
I don't think money has played a very big role in how I decide to date as such. Traveling, it has. It has played a role in whether I travel or not. Usually, I've only gone on family trips because I enjoy traveling with my family because it's fun. Whenever I try to make plans traveling with my friends, there's always a clash on what we want to do, like what's within my budget and what's their standard. I feel that that clash happens all the time. I would much rather spend on experiences rather than staying in a fancy hotel, unless I'm doing a staycation, in which case it's a different issue altogether. But if I'm traveling, I would rather stay in a hostel, but then go and do that top-notch skydiving experience, which costs a big buck. That's fine with me. I would spend on big things, but I wouldn't spend on things that don't matter. Why would I spend a lot of money on a hotel room where I'm going to be there for a couple of hours or just to sleep? So things like that. It does matter when I'm traveling. The only time I went solo traveling, I'm not proud to say this. The only time I went solo traveling was with my friend a year and a half after after I started working. So I had a good savings. It was nice to see all that money in my bank account. I felt happy. I was like, okay, that looks nice. Let's go. So we went on a trip to Georgia, the country, and it was fun. That's the only time I went. All of this caution came from my first trip to the United States. When I came here for summer school in 2018, and I was so excited to be here. But my aunt sat me down one day and she's like, "Do you realize how expensive the school is? Do you realize that maybe this is not particularly financially smart to be doing this? And you're making plans to go to Niagara Falls, you're making plans to do this and that. Maybe it's not the smartest decision to make. Maybe it's not the right thing to do." And I didn't speak to her for weeks after that because I felt so betrayed by her. But it made me realize that what she was saying made complete sense. It made no sense for me to come to the United States when I was at that point. Like, yes, it was a lovely learning experience. I had a great time. I learned a lot, and I think it's valuable. But it's made me cautious about spending money when I'm traveling or spending money on myself, which is why it took me so long to say yes to grad school. A part of the reason why it took me so long to say yes to grad school, saying that it should make financial sense for me to be able to come here or for me to come here. So I think it plays a role in that. I stayed with my parents. I didn't move out of my. When I was in Dubai, I stayed with my parents while I was working. It made more sense financially. Also, I liked staying with my family. And I think it's not frowned upon, I guess, in my culture. If you stay with your parents, even after you start working, even after you um, become an adult as such, like a fully functioning adult, it's not frowned upon. It's not seen as you're mooching off of them because you're contributing in your own way. So, no, money has not played a role there. So, yeah. I say no to certain things all the time because of money. I don't think I'm very good at it. I need to get better. because I'll have afterthoughts. It's like regret after spending money. Yeah, I shouldn't have done that. It was too expensive. Or I get peer pressured into doing it. Nobody's pressuring me. I pressure myself because everybody around me is saying, yes, we'll do this. And I'm like, yes, let's do this. And then I'm like, no, I don't have money to do
Dang. I wish I felt regret for spending stuff. No, I just be sometimes like, no, never mind. I literally spend things, I spend money on things that I want to spend money on.
Same.
They're not always a need. Sometimes they are a want, but it's not, I'm, I can critically think enough to understand where my money is going and being okay with that. Sometimes I don't need to get, I don't need to go out, eat out. Okay? Sometimes I can just go make a salad at home or something like that, or eat cereal. So things like that, I think I need to get better about, like just getting a cup of coffee out or eating out. But other than that, I just feel like if I want something, I want it. And if I have the money to do it and it's not gonna hurt me, then why not do it?
I
I
was talking
think,
about things like that as well.
yeah, I'm just talking.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Is
No,
what
I'm just agreeing with you. I agree. That's the same thing I was talking about. Yeah, go ahead.
yeah, but anyway, segue to the last. Well, I'll just combine the last two questions into the last question. So, how do you guys define financial success now? How has that changed? And based off of the definition, what advice would you give your 18-year-old self about finances? And importantly, do you think they'd listen to you?
No. I would listen. I would hear them. I would hear myself, but I wouldn't listen to myself because I was at 18. My mind was just rotten. Nothing would get
Rotten.
through to
Oh
me.
my God.
It was absolutely rotten. I no wonder everybody hated me at that point because my mind was like, no. It was in full on destruction mode, and I was like, yeah, I'm gonna destroy myself. Yeah, yeah,
Dang.
yeah. I didn't listen to anybody. I was like hormones raging. Complete idiot. Did not know what I was doing. Did not. I couldn't help myself. I calmed down a year later. By 19, I was normal again. 17, 18, I was just in that cycle. What should have happened at 15 and 16 happened at 17 and 18 for me.
Mm.
Like those hormones. Yeah,
Oh, okay. I
yeah.
understand.
I wasn't like, how do I, like when you think back, I don't think everybody has this, but I have this. So I think it's pretty common where you think back to things that you did as a teenager and you're like, why did I do that? That makes no sense. That probably not the smartest thing to do. So I was, the peak of that idiocy was when I was 18. So if I go back at 18 and I hear advice, I probably listen, keep it in my head, but not follow it.
Mm, dang. I feel like for me, actually, you go T.
Okay. um okay. How do I define financial success now? As a kid, I really thought I was going to be rich. Like, I always used to tell my parents they're going to live with me. Y'all will be in the west wing of my house. You guys will have a personal trainer, amenities. I used to say silly things like that.
West Wing is
But
crazy.
yeah, no, like I really was like, I'm gonna have a whole estate. But like, as a kid, I feel like I define financial success as like being able to like take care of my parents and like
Hmm.
just get everything that I wanted to get that maybe I couldn't get as a kid. Juvenile, but I still want to be able to take care of my parents. That part's not juvenile, but like yeah. Now in like my 20s, I think financial success just looks like living comfortably. Like I want to be at a place where I'm comfortable. I don't have to live paycheck to paycheck, hopefully. And I have the ability to do things I want, but in moderation, obviously. And also, I think financial success will look like having multiple streams of income. I think that's really important, something that I prioritize. Um, and if I could go back and talk to 18-year-old T, I would say, get a summer job. No, I'm joking. I was a good kid. I was a really good kid. When I was 18, it was February of my senior year. I had already gotten accepted into my dream school, and I had just been grinding to get scholarship like the whole year. So I was actually doing very well because I was like not only I had scholarships that would go directly to the school, and then some where it could come directly to me. So I had like myself set up well, but I think I would caution myself on the financial escapades I would go on freshman year in college. Because as I mentioned earlier, when I was in high school, well, all my life up until the end of high school, I was only dealing with like physical money and cash. And so when I would open my wallet and see I didn't have anything, I was more, I was trying to make
Yeah.
sure that didn't happen, So I was very careful about, okay, it's here. Okay, let me only spend this amount and then I still have stuff left over. Something about that plastic card when you don't see it and it's just in the ether somewhere.
Yeah,
It's like, yeah, there you go, swipe this.
Mhm.
You know what I mean?
Mhm.
literally.
So
Mhm.
I would caution myself that Uber adds up. You don't need
Yeah.
a new dress from homecoming. It's okay. You'll be fine. You're still cute. You don't need a new dress. Things like that I would have cautioned myself about. And I'm sure if a 18-year-old T saw a stressed, begging, pleading 24-year-old T, I would listen. I have no doubt in my mind. But yeah, that's all.
Begging, pleading.
Please have financial
Okay.
responsibility.
Yeah.
So weak.
Maybe. I
Um,
don't know. Interesting. What about you, Ruth?
I feel like to me with financial success, it hasn't changed too much, my definition of it. Like I said, I always had the mindset of if I wanted to do something, I have to save the money for it, right? Like I just always had that money or that mindset. Saving money is like what I'm best at. Literally, give me some money, I know exactly how much. If I want like 10,000 by the end of the year, I know exactly how to save that. But I think now my definition of success has moved on to the concept of like, can you survive financial hardship? So I think a lot about COVID. When COVID hit, like if COVID, God forbid, we have another pandemic, I really cannot do it. But if we have another pandemic, can I financially survive that? Can I financially survive a quarantine or survive not being able to work, being put on furlough for like 2 months? Like, can I? And that's how I define my financial success. Um, I would say from there, financial stability is stuff like being able to take care of others. I'm still successful even if I can't fully take care of my parents. But I think I would be financially stable if they're incorporated into the aspect of my budget in my life and my sisters as well. So that's how I would define it. So it's changed a bit, just a little bit, as I've become like more of an adult and realize like life hurts. It really does. Um, as for 18-year-old Rose, I would have immediately told her, open your own business, start your own form of income. Because I've always wanted to open a business. And not even for the second stream of income. I just wanted my own business, like my own nonprofit. I wanted my own storytelling organization, basically, since I was a kid. And even for my project as a freshman in college, it was like a YouTube channel about understanding different identities. It was called Inspire, or it was called We Are Human, but the project itself was like Project Inspire.
Is it still up?
I think I closed it. I'm not completely sure, but I don't have access to it anymore. So I think I like actually closed it because that can't just be floating around. But I basically I interviewed different people of different identities, and I asked them questions that random people have. So I sent out a survey. You could anonymously ask questions about a person's identity, and then I sat them down, recorded it, uploaded it. So part of me would have been like, bro, continue that. Start your business, do the content creation because you're already passionate about it and the money will come. Would I have listened? If I knew it was 24-year-old Rose, I would have listened. I always listen to myself. I don't have that problem. If Rose says something, she's gonna do it. But if someone else would have told me, like if 24-year-old Rose told my dad and my dad told Rose, I don't know. That's a
Mm,
50-50 chance
fair.
because I'm a lot better at it, but I used to be really bad about taking input from others when it came to like major life decisions. I could take like feedback. I love feedback. Give me the feedback, I'll take it, critically think, reflect, change myself. But when it was like my dad has always told me to open a business, he's always told me to write books, he still does, he's waiting for that book. But I'm just like, I guess I get worried about the whole aspect of like doing things for others. Like I get really self-conscious about like my decisions and making sure they're decisions for me and not because of what someone else wants. And so I've gotten better at that because sometimes people are just helping you. They're just giving you really good input to take. But 18-year-old Rose would only listen to 24-year-old Rose and no one else. Maybe a teacher. Maybe Mr. Edwards, maybe Joey, Mr. Warwick, but like that's it. Literally, other than that, it's just gonna sit there. Like Shreya said, it's gonna sit there, but I'm not really gonna take it. But that changed really soon. That changed within like a year or so of college. I was like, yeah, get it together. You don't know everything.
Mm.
And now here we are.
I didn't answer a part of that question about financial success.
Okay.
While sorry, but it's really interesting that you only listen to yourself. I wonder what I would do. But anyway, um,
I mean, well, to quickly clarify, I listen to my parents and I listen to people, but I listen to people as research. Does that make
mm,
sense?
no, no,
Like
I
they were
understand.
this,
Hmm.
yeah. So like I've gotten better at the fact of like, okay, my dad said do this. That doesn't mean don't do it because he said it. Like that doesn't mean just you leave it in the bank. Like,
You
come on
directly
now.
engage with the idea that he said,
Like
and
I
then you decide
directly
for
engage
yourself.
with it.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Took a
Rather
minute.
than dismissing it because it didn't come from you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I
Okay.
ended up
Yeah.
doing the same thing anyway. Like it was just wasting time, honestly.
Okay. So, I think I was actually pretty financially sound when I was 18. I didn't spend much. I spent within my means. If I wanted something, I would get it, but I wouldn't be pressured into buying something that I didn't want to buy. So I had good financial habits as an 18-year-old with no money. Like I lived within my means and I was happy. In the sense that I never had anything that I wanted to do, but I didn't do because I didn't have money. That didn't happen.
Hmm.
Or I had to give up something because I had the money, but I didn't want to spend it. That didn't happen when I was 18. But I was just not listening to anybody at 18. So that that was just a self-destructive year. Um, how do you financial success now? I think I have, like I said, we started off with discussing about myths, right?
Hmm.
Talking about things that misconceptions that we had. I think that's gone away now, so that's incorporated into my understanding. There's more balance in the way I view money. I think I've gotten worse at managing money compared to my 18-year-old self, but I know what I should do.
Hmm.
And when I'm not going to get into the specifics of what I think is financial success, I think it's basically being able to live a comfortable life right now within your means without overspending or underspending. I think there is a thing called underspending when you don't live your life and
Yeah,
you
I
live.
agree.
Yeah, there is such a concept, and you don't do both. You don't overspend and get yourself into debt that you do not know how to get out of. You don't underspend and then live a miserable life, or pay or not invest in things that could give you more. So I think that's how my definition of financial success has changed. So no overspending, no underspending, and also being able to cushion yourself a little bit. That if suppose I get laid off, something happens, if there's an emergency in my family, I have enough to support myself and my family for that short period of time. That's a work in progress. You don't get there as soon as you get a job. It takes years to get to that point. But being able to be there is important. Finally, that's like a goal.
Agreed. So that's the end of that. It was nice talking about it. I feel like we don't talk about economics enough at our age. I
Yeah.
think it's kind of like a taboo
Mm.
topic similar to religion, politics. Like I would say finances is in there too, but it's nice to talk about it because I feel like we're all going through very similar changes and transitions. So might as well not do it alone. But yeah,
I have something to
anything else?
add. I'm so
Oh,
sorry.
go
It's
ahead.
not just that it's sensitive or taboo, it's also the fact that it is, it's very delicate, almost like in a sense that you could have a genuine conversation, but it's very easy to make a person feel small or to come off as
Yeah,
bragging when
I
you're
agree.
talking about finances. Could be curiously having a genuine conversation, but it might rub people the wrong way. So it's just an icky topic.
Yeah.
It's delicate. It is.
Mm.
Wow. Well, until next time, guys,
Stay curious.
Stay true.
and stay unapologetically you.
Bye bye.
Bye.